Actually, what happened was I was returning to college. I had dropped out of college, and I had a really terrible writing block. And what I realized was when I asked myself, what are you so afraid of about writing? What just kind of popped out of my mouth was that the truth will come out. That's what scared me. And that truth was the stories that I had to hide because of stigma and shame. And a lot of them had to do with my mother being mentally ill and in and out of mental hospitals. So luckily I had a wonderful advisor, a feminist teacher who was a writer. And she also taught a creative writing class. And I went to her and I said, here's what I need to do to undo this writing block. I need to write the stories that I'm scared to write. And we used to have these, so we'd write in class, and we had these like 15-minute free writes, and she would put a word up and we'd have to write. And I remember she put up the word help, and I just wrote furiously and the sweat was coming down. And what I wrote that time was about the time that my mother, when I was 10, jumped in the river in the middle of the night and in the middle of the winter to attempt suicide. And somehow, the mystery, I don't know, was brought back by a neighbor. And I took care of her, gave her a bath. And so after we wrote, we had to read out loud what we'd written. And it really helped me realize that these stories that we tell that are painful and difficult actually connect us. Because when I read that out loud, the other students, I could see on their faces how moved they were. And it really helped me know that, we have to talk about some of these things. Especially because, I was going back to become a psychotherapist. And obviously, I believe in healing from trauma and healing from our secrets and things that society causes us to feel shame about, or our families cause us to feel shame about. But when my mother was dying, many years later, it was 1990, my mother said to me, I'm going to lick this cancer that she had, and I'm going to write a book about my life. And I knew she was dying, but of course I said, wonderful, Mom. And so after she died, that's when I started writing the memoir. Not really to write it for her, but to write our story, her story and my story together. And of course, I thought I was going to write her story, and I realized I had to write my story, and she would be part of it. One other thing I wanted to say about writing is, when I started writing the memoir, I had a writing teacher who, Manzanav, and I was in a weekly class with her. And she really helped me get a balance between what sustains us in life, what things really help us grow, heal, have joy, have moments of bliss. Write those, but also, what's the thing you most don't want to? She would say to me, what's the thing you most don't want to write? Write that. So it was like back and forth like that. It's really important in life. You don't want to just write trauma, because we have all kinds of wonderful moments in life that sustain us, that give us joy, that help us through, that we find help from strangers, from people, And I think it's really important to hold that balance, especially when you're going through something hard, that there's lots of, I can't think of the word, help out there, that there's lots of resources for us, people and nature was a huge resource for me as a child. So, to kind of, when you're telling stories, to know to do both of those.